Hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm your host Aditi Lamba. Welcome to this edition of ITV Gold Live. We are presenting our special report for this hour focused on coronavirus pandemic's updates, impact and measures, especially when looking at India and Indian Americans. We are honored and privileged right now to be graced by none other than Indian Consul General of India, New York, Sandeep Chakravorty. He has joined us again on ITV Gold Live. This time via Skype, he's joining us from New York City itself to talk to us about what's happening with this 21 days ban with India and a lot that's happening with the Indian consulate here and much more for the Indian American community. So let's welcome on the show. We're joined by Consul General Sandeep Chakravorty. Thank you so much for being with us on ITV Gold, sir.
Namaskar. Happy to be back on ITV Gold, and as we are all advised to stay at home, I'm connecting to the studio of ITV via Skype, so I'm trying to follow the advisories and instructions of our authorities.
Definitely, sir. And we want to let everyone know that this is a live call-in show, so you can speak to your Consul General. Just dial 718-784-8555, extension 108. Sir, while I have you on the show, I have to begin asking you, so much has changed since the last time we had you here in our studio. Stricter measures, a 21 days lockdown in India, so much happening here in the United States. I would like to know, how are you doing and how is the Indian Consulate doing right now? I know you are open 24/7 as always.
Yes, you see, we representing India in New York and also dealing largely with the Indian American community, we are doubly affected. We are affected by what's happening here in New York. We are affected by what's happening to the people who live here, the Indian community and the community at large. And also we are influenced and impacted by developments in India. And I think there has been no other phenomena or no other such development which has influenced and impacted our lives as much as COVID has. It has really brought the world to a standstill. Yeah. And disrupted so many things. We have been talking of disruptions, of technology disruptions in the past, but I think COVID has been the most incredible and unbelievable disruptor for our normal life. So what we are trying to do is, first of all, trying to be safe. And I would take this opportunity to request all the viewers and listeners of ITV Gold to be safe. Follow the instructions, stay where you are, stay at home. You are the safest at home or wherever you are. If you're in a hotel, some of our people are stranded here. They're in hotels or they're in hostels, in dorms. Be where you are. I think the virus doesn't come to you unless you go to the virus. So be safe, be where you are, and follow the instructions of your authorities, of your local authorities. I think that's the only thing we can do because if you are struck by COVID, then there is a protocol to follow and things to do. But the best thing to do is not to get infected with the virus and be safe. Be safe. What we are trying to also do is adapt to the new way of life. We are trying to do things online. We are trying to use our media platforms in a larger way. And I'll tell you later how we are trying to become an online consulate and do events and activities online and connect to people, which is what a consulate should do. Earlier, we were physically connecting to people, but now we are virtually connecting to people.
Definitely, sir, and we want to go more into it, but just starting this off and going a little bit deeper into the concerns of Indian Americans, I do want to look into India and ask you more questions on the Indian government's proactive measures and the steps that are being taken place there. But before that, Indian Americans, there have been a lot of concerns. I know the consulate has been getting a lot of calls. My first question to you is, it's actually an anecdote we found somewhere. It says, Balaji is amongst thousands of Americans that is in India right now that the US State Department is trying to bring home as the air travel is shuttered by global coronavirus pandemic. Still, the thought of returning back here to Pennsylvania where he lives brings its own sets of concern. Could you reflect on those Indians that are currently in India? I'm sure there must be so much information you must know in that regards.
You see, there are two aspects here. One is Americans who are in India. Right. But we have to remember always that number of American citizens in India is very small compared to the number of Indian citizens in the United States. In fact, the numbers are so strikingly different that we can't even it's not only apple and oranges. They are like peanuts and watermelons. They are just we cannot even compare the numbers. Right. Secondly, we have to understand that entire India is under lockdown.
Yes.
Whereas in the United States, so far, large part of the country is under lockdown, but there are still areas which are not under lockdown. So when the American government is evacuating people from US citizens, they are evacuating a smaller number of people and they are taking them to places which are not under lockdown. As far as I know, some of the flights will come to Salt Lake City, which is not under lockdown. But for us, the challenge is enormous. At the moment, no evacuation flights are planned. Also, you have to understand that it is a problem which cannot be solved by evacuation flights. How many people can you evacuate? The numbers are in hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
Right.
Secondly, who will you give priority? There are all kinds of people who are here. There are students who are here. There are tourists who came here. There are elderly and sick people who came from India to spend time with their families, and they are stuck here. So there is an entire gamut of such people. There are people who came on their job. They will, unless they go back to India, they will lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Those people are stuck up. So at the moment, I think the best thing to do is to stay where you are and just wait for the suspension of flights to be revoked. And when commercial flights are resumed, you take your flight back and go home. But at the moment, we are not talking of evacuation flights. If somebody is in need, please reach out to our consulate. We will provide you that support. And I want to thank all your listeners and viewers to them, as well as others who have reached out to us. Lots of people are reaching out to us, offering help. Just now, I got a call from a friend a person I know in New Jersey. He said that he can provide for 20 meals a day.
Oh, wow.
And also accommodation for 20 people. So lots of people have come forward offering help. There are others who are coming to me and says, "Aap bataiye hum kya kar sakte?" I think that's a wrong question to put to the consulate. My question to you would be, "Aap bataiye aap kya madad kar sakte?" And then our job is to connect the supply with the demand. We can do that. It's not for us to tell people what they should be able to do or what they can do. So I'm very, very thankful to lots of people, community organizations. I just don't want to get into names, who have reached out to us and offering help. And actual help is being provided on the ground. There are people who are calling Amazon. They are shopping online and getting things delivered to students who are in need. And it is happening right now. So, I am seeing a very positive side of humanity in this moment of crisis, where people are chipping in and they're supporting. And I think, this is the only way we can unitedly, by staying apart, living at home in isolation, but united in action, we can tide over this difficult moment.
So, sir, if I get your point right, two questions I have here just following up. So you are completely here on ITV Gold disregarding these evacuation plans, rumors we are hearing, if I'm getting you correct right there.
No, there is no plan for any evacuation flights, because some people are giving examples of some evacuation flights which were executed before, but there the situation was very different, and also the numbers were very small. Here the numbers are just staggering, and there is no way we could look at evacuation. And also, it is not safe to go by air. It's not safe to fly. You can actually be a potential carrier of the virus, and a lot of you are seeing the task force, White House task force, Dr. Tony Fauci saying that more than 25% people could be pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic. So we don't know. We may be carrying the virus, we may not be showing as symptoms, but when we travel or we get in close proximity with others, we will spread the virus, and that person may be very violently, turn violently sick. So why take that risk? I think people are facing a problem of loneliness and boredom, and that cannot be metamorphosed into saying that my life is at risk. They are not at risk, and
so
where they are, they should just stay there. I am living in the heart of New York. New York is the epicenter of the epicenter, and I don't feel unsafe. I feel safe here. And I think this is the message I want to give out, that where you are the safest.
Yes, sir. Let me quickly answer this call. Hello, this is ITV Gold. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Raj. I'm calling from New Jersey.
Yes.
मेरा सवाल है for the CG. When will life go back to normal in America?
Yeah.
And I also have a question. Just today, New York Times published an article that India is censoring free speech to deal with the pandemic. So what would what would the CG say about the censorship of free speech in India? Yeah, that's what my question is. Thank you.
All right, sir, I'm not sure if you were able to hear the full question, but they're asking that New York Times today released an article stating that there is some threat to freedom of speech in India due to what's happening here. Would you please care to comment to the caller who called us?
I think what he's asking is there is curtailment of free speech.
Yes, that's what he's asking. If there is a threat to free speech in India right now due to what's happening with the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown.
No, I think, there is always, I've been observing that there is a tendency to highlight the negative aspects of what is happening in India. Yesterday, there was a story in the same newspaper that you mentioned, which gave pictures of distress of people. But it never, there was not a word about the measures the government is taken to prevent the spread of the virus, or the enormous package that the government has announced to support the migrant workers or people who are in trouble, who are distressed, who are vulnerable. The large amount of effort is going in feeding people who have lost their jobs and are in transit camps, or the effort that has been made to move the migrant workers. Only the negative imagery is being captured, because I think that is the one, that is what gets traction here. That is, they like to see India in those stereotypical images, and that is why it is always published and broadcast here in the United States. What I want to say is that there is no freedom of speech. There is no restriction on freedom of speech. What we are trying to restrict is rumor mongering, and the favorite tool of rumor mongers is WhatsApp. And I think if there is a curtailment of rumor mongering, I think it's all for the good. There is no curtailment of good speech. There is no curtailment of positive news. There is no curtailment of the truth and the facts. But if there is curtailment of rumor mongering and scare mongering and creation of panic, then I think it's all for the good.
Definitely. And there's another call we're getting on another line. Hello? Give me 1 second, sir. I think it got disconnected, unfortunately. But, they brought up a really important point. And I guess, I would like to discuss a little bit more on the student visa before we get into this. But for all of the audience, we will definitely address some of those questions and concerns. CG has agreed to speak about the migrant workers as well. And thank you so much for responding to that comment on the New York Times article, sir. Kind of want to just bring it back quickly back to the consulate and ask you about the number of questions and concerns we're getting from student visa holders, also people that are also on H-1B visas and other visas from India. I know right now there's a suspension of visas, and also a lot of these students are off of their campuses because the campuses have closed down, especially in this tri-state area. Sir, I know there's a lot that the consul is doing. I would love for you to address the student body that's still residing here, and I know they are worried and they're very concerned.
You see, here I will do no better than just quoting my ambassador who was on Indian television last night, where he highlighted and brought to the notice of people that both India and the United States is practically under lockdown. So for visa, people who are concerned about their visas, my suggestions to them is that you apply online at the USCIS site. Granting of visa or extension of visa is not the responsibility of the government of India or of the Indian consulate or embassy. It is the responsibility of the USCIS. The American system, the American State Department, USCIS and the government, they are aware that, we are going through this difficult situation. So they may not be able to respond to your request for extension, but they are fully aware that, flights have been suspended, visas have been suspended, and you are not able to travel back to your home country, even if your visa has expired or is expiring. So I think people who are sitting in these offices are intelligent people. They will take cognizance of your situation. And even if they are not able to respond today, they will respond in the future, and your visa status will not get compromised. I think there is unnecessary concern and scare amongst people whose visas are expiring that, if their visas expire and they are not able to travel, it will be held against them. Certainly not. People understand that there are no flights. You are not expected to walk all the way from New York to New Delhi. You will need to take a flight. And I think if you explain your situation, I'm sure that people who are sitting in those offices and behind those desks are considerate human beings. They will understand your situation. Similarly, There are many cases where people are writing to us that they have applied for their passports and renewal and reissue of their passports. Even to them, my message is that we are under lockdown. My first responsibility is to make sure that my staff and my officers don't get infected by COVID. Now, how under this lockdown situation, this is making a passport or issuing a visa cannot be done remotely. There is a physical element. Documents have to be printed. They have to be put in a machine, and documents have to be signed. It cannot be done remotely. And if there is a delay, it is not because we don't want to do it. There is a physical problem in executing some of the tasks, and they have to be appreciated. People are getting restless. They're writing to us on all forums and all platforms and just choking our system. To them, my suggestion is that even if your passport is expiring, even if it is expired, if there is a delay, it is not that we are creating the delay, it is because of the lockdown situation. Just have patience and just stay calm. We will do your job as soon as the situation normalizes.
Definitely, sir. And again, I want to ask you a little bit more on the students that are really concerned. The thousands and thousands of students we're talking about in grad school, in undergrad, and other programs as well. I know there are certain communities that are offering accommodations for them. There's certain resources. I know even on the Consul website it says that if you're been denied an accommodation on campus, you can petition for it. What more can we do for these students? And what is their future looking like according to you right now? Because, again, they're in that uncertain boat and they don't know when they're going to finish school or when they should return back or how long they're going to be here. I'm sure you must get hundreds of these questions. Your address to that.
Yeah, I think you've raised a very important point, Aditi. Here I will make two assertions. One is that short of those who want to go back to India, means being evacuated, I think we have spoken to a large number of students. You can't imagine the number of students, calls and messages that we're handling every day. It's in hundreds. And students are comfortable, they are safe where they are. Those who are not, we are reaching out to them. We are even trying to organize delivery of food. But I don't think the students are in any situation of discomfort or panic or lack of safety. They are safe where they are. There is this urge to go back home. And some of these problems of the students are actually being multiplied and magnified by their parents back home in India. And they are creating this scenario where, their children are in danger. And, I don't think that's the situation. I think they are safe where they are. And also India is under lockdown. So, even if they want to go, how will they go? One has to be realistic. Second point is that, most of these universities have moved down to online. They understand the situation of the international students, and they are being very accommodative. In many of the universities, they have allowed students to remain in the dorm, or where not, they have taken the classes online, and they are coming out with lots of ideas and programs for the future. Now, that is something that the students will work out with the universities. In the meanwhile, if any student, I repeat, if any student feels that he or she doesn't have accommodation or has some problems with food or a medical issue, please reach out to us. Our email is education.newyork@mea.gov.in, or call our COVID helpline, or write to us on Facebook, India and New York, or on Twitter, Instagram. You will find a response from us within a short period of time. So I'm saying, it is very easy to generalize and say, sabko dikkat ho rahi hai, problem ho rahi hai, mushkil hai. When you reach down and you differentiate the problem, you reach out to the student, he or she is rather happy. In the sense, under the circumstances, I'm not saying, they are enjoying bliss and nirvana, but I'm saying under the circumstances, they are happy, they are comfortable, and they understand the situation that, United States is under a practical lockdown and India is under lockdown, and it is safe for them to be where they are. I think that's the best advice anyone can give at this moment.
Sir, right now we're also live on Facebook for all our audiences watching us. And again, call us on 718-784-8555 extension 108. Sir, someone on Facebook just posted asking, PM Modi's, what is your comment or your comment on PM Modi's planned staggered exit from vast corona lockdown? I guess they want to know what is your take on how the Indian government is handling the coronavirus outbreak, and your take on what the statuses are that are coming out of India right now.
Here, you see, I would like to just take you back to the address of our Prime Minister. and not only on the day he announced the lockdown, but also his statement in Man Ki Baat, where I think he apologized to the people of India, particularly the poor, and said that there was nothing else he could have done, and I fully agree that he apologized not for his action, but he apologized for the difficulty and the problems that the people are facing because of the action and the decision he took. But I just can't imagine what else he could have done. India is a densely populated country,
yes,
with 1.3 billion people, with help in infrastructure which is wanting in some areas, and if we had not taken this decisive action, the virus would have spread, and then it would have been almost impossible to contain the virus and to treat the number of patients that would have flocked to our hospitals. So I think he took a very there was no better time than what he did, and when he did, I think it had to be a very decisive and quite a surgical kind of an operation, and there was no way one could have prepared better. Preparation would have only taken time, and by that time the virus would have spread. It had to be there and then, and I think there were some difficulties which people faced, particularly migrant labor. But there again, I thought there was not full understanding of what the government would have been able to do. People sometimes panicked, and I don't blame them. This is a normal human reaction. People react, and they thought that they will not be taken care of. But I think since the initial images which streamed, a lot of change has happened, a lot of difference has been made to the lives of those people, and government has come out with very, very ambitious and comprehensive plans to support people who will be in distress, including direct transfers of benefits, and many organizations have come forward. Here I would like to mention that Prime Minister's CARES, PM CARES is a trust which has been formed, and they are inviting donations from people from all over the world. You can see our Facebook and website for how to make the donation. So viewers and listeners who are watching this program, if you want to reach out to those people who are affected by the lockdown in India, you can donate to the PM CARES fund, and that fund will be used to provide help and sustenance to people most affected by the lockdown due to coronavirus.
So we have a call coming in. We just want to address that too. I again appreciate you for addressing our audience on PM Narendra Modi's initiative. Hello, sir. Where are you calling from? Welcome to ITV Go Live. What's your question for the CG?
This is Atma Singh from New Jersey.
Oh, hello, Atma ji. How's it going?
Good. Everything is fine. Thanks, God.
Yes, of course. Your question for the CG?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Tell us, sir.
Yes, I have questions, yes.
Yes, tell me.
बस क्वेश्चन तो यही है कि जो सीजी साहब अभी काफी क्वेश्चन का जवाब दे रहे हैं, तो मैं कुछ इंडियंस की हेल्प किया था, तो जो लोग हॉस्टल्स में कहीं सेफ जगह पे पहुंचाया, कुछ मेरे पास भी यहाँ पर है एक लड़का, तो ये जो इंडिया की जो फ्लाइट्स खुलेगी ये कब तक के खुलने वाली है? एक, और नंबर 2, आप लिख रहे हैं क्वेश्चन?
हाँ जी, tell me.
अच्छा, नंबर 2 है, कुछ ऐसे यहाँ पर फेसबुक पे और व्हाट्सएप पे जो मानवता की बात को छोड़ के हिंदू मुस्लिम की बातें कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर लोग, और ऐसे पोस्ट डाल रहे हैं जिससे कि कम्युनिटी बिना किसी भेदभाव के हेल्प करना चाह रही है, लेकिन कुछ भारतीय है हमारे जो, तो ऐसे लोगों को कैसा जवाब देना चाहिए, या उनके लिए कुछ उनको गवर्नमेंट से होना चाहिए कि ऐसे लोग ऐसे काम ना करें मीडिया में, जिससे कि हमारी जो भावनाएं एक दूसरे के प्रति मतलब एक दूसरे के खिलाफ ना हो और एक दूसरे के साथ मिलकर हमें काम करना चाहिए.
जी, सो सीजी उनके 2 क्वेश्चंस हैं. पहला ये है कि फ्लाइट्स जो हैं इंडिया और यूएसए के बीच में वो कब शुरू होंगी, स्पेशली फॉर द स्टूडेंट्स, बिकॉज आत्मा जी भी काफ़ी स्टूडेंट्स को हेल्प कर रहे हैं. और उनका सेकंड क्वेश्चन ये है कि जो हिंदू मुस्लिम की दिस फाइट वी स्टार्टेड टू सी अगेन, हम इसको कैसे कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं जिसमें सिर्फ मानवता की तरफ हम ज़्यादा ध्यान दें, एक दूसरे को हेल्प करने का हम ज़्यादा ध्यान दें. तो ये 2 क्वेश्चन है आत्मा जी के.
आपने बहुत ही 2 महत्वपूर्ण सवाल उठाए हैं. पहला सवाल आपने फ्लाइट्स की उठाई है, उसमें अभी तक तो जो हमारे को अंदेशा है वो है कि ये फ्लाइट्स 14 अप्रैल तक सस्पेंडेड है. उसके बाद ये सस्पेंशन कंटिन्यू हुआ कि नहीं, इसके बारे में कहना अभी असंभव है, क्योंकि ये सारे जो डिसीजन लिए गए हैं ये वायरस के एक्सपेंशन और प्रोग्रेस और ग्रोथ कर्व को ध्यान में रखते हुए लिया गया था। तो अगर हम लोग ये जो लड़ाई है कोरोना वायरस के विरुद्ध, इसमें अगर हम सफल होते दिखते हैं तो मुझे आशा है कि ये जो फ्लाइट रिस्ट्रिक्शंस है इसको सस्पेंशन को तोड़ दिया जाएगा और फ्लाइट्स रिज्यूम होंगे। अगर हमें लगता है कि हम जीत नहीं पा रहे और हमें मुश्किलें पेश आ रही हैं, तो हो सकता है ये फ्लाइट सस्पेंशन को थोड़ी देर के लिए और कंटिन्यू किया जाएगा। तो दैट whether it is continued or not, it all depends on how successful we are in our fight, and there again we will be successful only if we are able to maintain social isolation and not have unnecessary social contact, stay at home and keep away from others. I think that's the only way.
Definitely. And his second question was addressing
किसी का मजहब या धर्म देख के इन्फेक्ट नहीं करता है, सबको बराबरी से, बेरहमी से, बराबरी से इसको लोगों को ये बर्बाद कर सकता है। तो इसमें जो लोग मजहब की बात इसमें ला रहे हैं, वो लोग मुझे लगता है कि वो मजहब का मतलब ही नहीं समझते हैं और मानवता के दुश्मन हैं। उन लोगों से मुझे लगता है उनको समझा तो पाएंगे नहीं, अगर वो समझने वाले होते तो वो समझ जाते। उन लोगों से दूर रहना ही अच्छा है, उन लोगों के साथ उलझने में कोई मुझे लगता नहीं है कुछ बेनिफिट मिलेगा। उन लोगों को बॉयकॉट करना चाहिए, शांत करना चाहिए। और मुझे लगता है कि इसमें धर्म बातों को लाना ही नहीं चाहिए। ये तो वायरस है, ये इसका ना कोई धर्म है, इसका एक ही धर्म है, वो है कि जहाँ उसको इन्फेक्ट करता है उसको खत्म कर देता है। तो इसको चलते हुए मुझे तो लगता है कि ये सब बातें बेमतलब की हैं, फजूल हैं, इसमें हमें पढ़ना ही नहीं चाहिए। हमें जितना हो सके सबको मानवता को मदद करना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये थोड़ी है कि अगर किसी को कोई धर्म कोई भिन्न हो तो वो इन्फेक्शन आप तक फैलेगी नहीं या आपके धर्म के लोगों में ही रहेगी और दूसरे धर्म में नहीं जाएगी। ये सब बेफजूल की बातें। हम यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में बैठे यहाँ हम देख रहे हैं कैसे ये वायरस बिना किसी भेदभाव के लोगों को बर्बाद कर रहा है। ना उम्र का क्या, इसको उम्र की कोई परवाह है, ना सेक्स का परवाह है, ना जेंडर का परवाह है, ना धर्म का परवाह है। तो ये तो एकदम क्या कहते हैं रूथलेसली लोगों को डिस्ट्रॉय कर रहा है। तो इसमें मुझे लगता है पढ़ना ही नहीं चाहिए और जहां तक आप हेल्प कर सके सबको बराबरी से हेल्प करें।
Yes, and Atma Singh actually says thank you to you on Facebook. He goes, thank you, CG Saab. And I also appreciate you for addressing that, sir. I think this is definitely not the time that we need to be addressing a lot of these religious conflicts. I'm sure you would agree with it. This is not the time. This is where you would want all Indians to come together in solidarity. Wouldn't you say that?
I think absolutely correct, and I think people are doing it. Those who are spreading discord and disturbing the peace, they are in minority. They are not the majority. They are not the mainstream in India. And I think we should take lead from our leadership. They are reaching out to everybody. They are reaching out to all kinds of people who are vulnerable and who need help. And there is no distinction on the basis of religion, caste, or gender. I think just like the virus, it doesn't discriminate. I think there is no question of discrimination. Everybody is equally entitled to the benefits that the state has to offer. And I think it is our state policy. And even in the consulate, we are reaching out to anybody who is asking us for help.
Joined by none other than Consul General of New York, India, Sandeep Chakravorty, and he is right now here live with us via Skype. Thank you again for joining us here, sir.
Happy to be on ITV Gold, Aditi.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have a call that came in while we were on a break, so I'm going to actually let the call start off this part of the segment. Hello, ITV Gold, where are you calling from? What's your name?
My name is Adesh and I'm calling from New Jersey.
Yes, Adeshi from New Jersey. What's your question for our CG?
Yeah, ma'am. First of all, I would like to appreciate all the consulate across the world who are evacuating the stranded Indians from the world. My question is that, I have H1 visa and my visa is expiring next month. So I tried to leave the US, but the problem is that I have OCI. My daughter, she has OCI card holder, and the flights are being, they are suspended, and I cannot leave the US. But my visa is expiring, so I would like to know if this suspension extends further. What are the chances that Indian government would evacuate people like me whose visa is expiring?
Okay.
So because we got stuck here, my visa is expiring soon.
Okay, Adeshi, let's get Consul General here on the call with us. Sir, were you able to hear his question?
Yes, thank you, Adeshji. We have been connected to Adeshji on Twitter and social media. I've been seeing his posts and we have been answering to him as well. Thank you for your appreciation. Adesh जी, आपने सुना होगा कि वीजा एक्सटेंशन जिन लोगों का वीजा एक्सपायर हो रहा है, the government of United States will sympathetically consider them, and they know that there are travel restrictions, there are visa restrictions, and there are restrictions on travel to India. They know that India is under lockdown. So even if your visa expires, your visa status will not be compromised, and you should go on to the USCIS website and apply for an extension or send emails to the USCIS. I think that should take care of your visa. As far as OCI is concerned and travel suspension is concerned, as soon as the travel suspension is lifted and the visa suspension is lifted, you are free to travel to India. Your other question about evacuation flight, in the past there were evacuation flights, but those numbers were very small and the circumstances were very special. And also we have to remember at that time India was not under lockdown. At this moment it is not possible to execute evacuation flights because India is under lockdown. And secondly, even if you are taken to India, you will have to be put under quarantine for 14 days. And how can we have quarantine facilities for such a large number of people who are here in the United States? It's not practical, it's not feasible. You have to understand that at the moment the government of India is focused on containing the spread of the virus in India, and we cannot handle this additional pressure of taking people to India, and then we cannot be sure that people are not carriers, and there's not sufficient testing even here in the United States. So as I said, stay put where you are. Your visa and your OCI questions will be addressed when the time comes. This is not the time to address those questions because both India and United States are in lockdown. So if you applied for a visa extension and you have not heard from them, it is because they are under lockdown. The moment those officers start functioning properly, they will reply to you. This is the assurance we have been given by the US State Department. And similarly, when the visa restrictions are lifted, your OCI will become good to travel and you will travel. So just have some patience and stay calm, and we will be getting back to you. Watch our advisories on Facebook and on our website, and we will be able to guide you properly. But if you panic and you lose your patience, then I think we will be going down a wrong path.
Definitely. We have one more question coming in, sir. Hello, ITV Gold. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New Jersey.
Hi, what's your name?
I think I spoke to you before, Mickey Chopra.
Yes. You had a question for CG, real quick.
Yes,
go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my question is, first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much to CG, Mr. Sandeep Chakravorty, and the rest of his staff for helping out. My question was, I own an Indian restaurant in New Jersey, which is called
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hello?
Sir,
I'm so sorry, you were connected. Could you please repeat? You own a restaurant in New Jersey?
In New Jersey, I2I Fusion, and I wanted to help out. If anybody in New York, the CG department, if anybody at the department need any meals or anything, I'll be more than happy to help out.
All right.
Because I've been donating a lot of food in hospitals and to the local clinics.
Right. So you want to know how you can perhaps do it, helping the consulate as well. I think that's a beautiful question, sir. How can he help out? He's already donating food across New Jersey.
I think, Mr. Chopra, thank you very much for your offer, and I'm delighted that you have made this offer. And I want to tell you that so many other offers are coming to our consulate. Only today we have an offer from a person in New Jersey for protecting his privacy. I won't name him. He has offered accommodation and food for 15 people and students in his facilities. So, Chopra ji, thank you very much. We will be very grateful if you can just write to us or get in touch with us. If you email us, just go to our website or our Facebook and just put in a message. We will get in touch with you because there is a need. and there are organizations which are buying food to give it out to poor people. And I think your offer will be very, very well appreciated, and we will be able to make good use of your offer. So we would like to connect to you and like to have your contact details, and very soon we'll get in touch with you. So if you go to Facebook and just on the messenger or somewhere, if you just leave your contact details or through ITV, we will be very happy to get in touch with you and take your help. Thank you very much.
Definitely. And again, Miki Chopra, you are listening. Consul General would love for you to contact the consulate, and you can also drop in just on our Facebook on ITV Go the message, and we will be happy to help sort that out. Sir, we have another question which is actually coming in from Facebook, because we're going live on Facebook, everyone. And again, if you want to call in for our show, actually we are getting a call right now. Let's quickly take it, sir. Hello? What's your name and where you're calling from? This is ITV Gold.
Yes, this is Raj again from New Jersey. My question for CG is that can CG tell us, according to the information that is available to him,
Yes.
when will life go back to normal in America? Lots of people are telling me that it's going to be around the 1st of June when most of the restrictions will be lifted and people will be allowed to socialize in public and so forth. What is the estimate of the consulate? When do they think that most of the restrictions would be lifted? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. So I guess this is one of the most popular questions of eternity right now. When is this situation going to be, under control? In the US, I think this person asked, but I would also ask if you could give us some stats or maybe some predictions of when they're expecting it to be a little bit more contained in India and the US. Any comments on that?
I think it's the most difficult question that I have been asked, and it's $1 million question. You see, I am not even looking so far. For me, the important timelines are 14th of April and 15th of April, rather, when the flight restrictions are supposed to be lifted, and end of April, 30th April, when the lockdown in New York is supposed to be lifted. I think at the moment it will be useful and sensible to look at these two dates only. COVID infection or pandemic has taught us one thing, that we cannot really plan too much into the future because everything has been upended. It's a new world, it's a different world. We don't know how to deal with this world. So my suggestion to all of you would be to have short-term plans and deal with the issue as it is rising. It all actually depends on how the virus is tamed, how the bell curve is tamed, and how flat it goes. If it goes up, then the recovery period will be longer and we will be back to normalcy later. But if we are able to peak in, let's say, by 15th of April, then at least the New York area, which is the epicenter of the virus in the United States, then we should be limping back to normalcy by May. But all kinds of things we have heard. We've heard the mayor saying that it may go to May, June. We have heard other people saying that it may come back in the fall. In fact, if you heard Dr. Fauci, he was mentioning about the return of the virus in the fall. So it would be rather foolhardy for me to make any prediction. But I am just looking at a 1 month timeline, when 15 days when the flight suspension may be revoked, and then 30th April when the New York lockdown will maybe removed. But these are all maybe scenarios when nobody can be sure of, and I think it's best to live short timelines at this moment and deal with the situation, and always remember to be safe and wash your hands and wear your mask and don't have contact with people you don't know. And avoid contact. So I think we have become very basic now in our approach to life.
Yes.
We should think of living life every moment, every day, because we just don't know how things will be, or the world will be tomorrow.
Definitely. Sir, I have a question that actually came in from Facebook. I would love for you to address this. This is coming in from Yukti Bhatia. Thank you so much for dropping in a message on our Facebook. And everyone, you can also right now go on our Facebook and drop in a message. So she goes, hello, there are people who came to India as well, including myself, who came here for visa stamping and embassy shut down immediately. In the meantime, for some cases, visa will expire in India. Would you know if the timeline for us here will also extend, as we can work from home and we want to keep our jobs in the US? So she's stuck in India and the embassy shut down right when she was about to go for her visa stamping. Yukti Bhatia.
Here again, this is something which the U.S. Embassy and consulates in India will deal with. I would strongly recommend that you reach out to them. They have their social media and other email platforms available. Write to them and make them aware of your situation. As I said, they are also under lockdown, so they are not able to respond immediately to your request. But as soon as things normalize, they will be able to respond. And I don't think anybody will hold it against you that you were not able to renew your visa in time, or you were not able to reach your job on time. Even if you come back, first thing, you're not able to come back to the United States because flights are suspended. So there's no way, even if your visa is stamped, you won't be able to come. Secondly, even if the flights are resumed, you don't have the visa, you can't come back. So I think organizations and companies are sensitive. They understand for them human resource is the most valuable resource. And if you are valuable for your company, and they will be accommodative, they will understand your plight and situation, and they will, of course, not like to lose you. I think you should work out an arrangement with your company, with your organization, that, this is the problem that you're facing, and address this question to the American authorities and American consulate. And they will be able to answer this question. As far as Indians who are American nationals who are stranded in India, our government has come out with a policy that they will be extending their visas. They just need to apply online, and they will be extending the visa. So you can rest assured, if you're an American national and living in India, your visa is expiring, you can rest assured that the visa renewal process will be almost automatic, and it will be done quite easily without much worry.
Sir, I think this brings me up to this a follow-up question that I just thought of, which is again sort of more on the communication that is between Washington DC, the Indian Embassy, the consulate here in New York City and New Delhi. Could you sort of elaborate on how that communication has been the last couple of days? Any latest updates you have in terms of research? Any latest updates we have in terms of the anti-malarial drug that's been talked about as well? Anything that you can give us in terms of all the aspects that are being discussed amongst these three bodies of Indian organizations?
You see, there's a lot of communication that is going on between the United States government and India. I think day before yesterday, Secretary Pompeo spoke to our external affairs minister, and even our ambassador is in constant touch with the high officials in Washington, and we are collaborating in many things. You see, one of course very interesting prospect and is the use of anti-malarial drug for treatment of coronavirus. We have heard about it, but I believe clinical trials have not yet taken place or are in progress. There again, you will be happy to know that today I received a query from the U.S. authorities that whether we will be able to connect them to organizations in India which are doing the trials, and that they can share the data and see if that can be used in India as well. Similarly, we are reaching out to a lot of organizations and companies where the innovation has happened. For instance, yesterday we came to know about an organization in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, which has come out with a technology to decontaminate used masks. Masks are in great demand, and there's a scarcity of those masks. So I am in communication with them and trying to see if they can share the technology or the product with us so that we can take it to India and then use it to decontaminate masks in India. Because again, it's impossible to produce such large number of masks. And if we can recycle those masks, then it will be not only cost efficient, but also environmentally sustainable. So a lot of conversation is happening, and we are trying to help organizations to, a few days back, we helped an organization to ship some kits, medical testing kits to India for testing in India. So we are trying to play a role. We're trying to help businesses. We're trying to connect people with each other and to see how the United States can help India, and similarly how things that are happening in India can help the United States. I don't know if you saw this news. It was quite viral. I don't want to use the word viral, but popular in social media, that Indian companies are trying to develop a ventilator which will cost as less as $650. Now, if such a ventilator is produced and then if that technology is shared all over the world, then I think some of the problems that United States is facing of the scarcity of ventilators, that could be addressed, because one problem with the scarcity is also the price. The ventilators here are expensive. So if you can produce a ventilator which costs just $650, then we are looking at something which can be easily replicated, and a large number of such ventilators could be produced, saving valuable lives.
Yes, sir. And if I was to ask you, sir, just in discussing a little bit more, we have a little bit of time. I want to discuss about the impact of coronavirus on India right now and the current measures and tips. The biggest question is we're looking at a population of 1.3 billion people, the world's second most populous nation. When we're looking at these exponential increase in cases, as the World Health Organization announced just yesterday, saying that we're going to reach into 1 million global cases next week. Where does India stand in that space? And if I was to ask you, is India prepared in terms of the PPEs that we're already having a lot of issues with here in the United States, in terms of hospital beds and ventilators and other equipment that's needed? Where is India standing right now in your take on the preparation for increase of cases?
You see, no country in the world can be prepared for such an exponential increase in cases and hospitalization. There are lots of issues. We are seeing it. We have seen it in China. We have seen it in Italy. We are seeing it in the United States. How so well prepared you may be, the virus is always ahead of you. So I think here again, the best shot and the best chance is in social isolation, in not allowing the virus to spread. I think there we have made some headway. And so far, the figures that are coming out from India are encouraging. The rate at which the cases are multiplying or the hospitalization is happening is although very serious, is not alarming. It is not as quick as it has happened in some other countries such as Italy and Spain. So there, on that front, I think there is some comfort. And if we are able to implement this lockdown successfully, I believe we will be able to contain the spread of the virus. And then our hospitals and doctors and healthcare workers who are doing a fantastic job, they will be able to take care of these cases. I know there is an issue with PPE. Here again, I would like to take this opportunity to request people here, your viewers and listeners, if they know of suppliers, if they know of innovation, if they know of some technology, some product which is available, and then that can be sent to India, we would be happy to work with you and send that information to India so that they could be tapped and you could help in the effort. Similarly, again, if people want to contribute to the PM CARES Fund, please go ahead and do. You can make an online fund transfer, and that money will be helpful in actually procuring PPE and also support people who are adversely affected by the lockdown. So I think it's a very valid question, but my hope is in containing the spread of the virus rather than trying to cure people who have become patients and are suffering from the virus.
So we're getting a question. Hello, thank you so much for calling ITV Go Live. What's your question for the CG and what's your name?
Hi, my name is Yadu and I'm calling from New Jersey.
Yes, Yadu from New Jersey. Tell me.
First off, this is a great initiative from your side to help us communicate with the CG, and thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
CG, yeah. So my question for the CG is that I understand that India economically is going through a major crunch in trying to come up with resources to help people on the mainland or in India already. Whenever we talk about people who are from India in the US, we just talk about people on F1 and H1 visas who are relatively better off. But then there's other visa holders as well who are probably not doing as well. And based on the regulations in the US, they're probably not eligible for any benefits or whatever the US government is providing. So the first question is that, is there any sort of help coming for Indian citizens who are here on some other visas who don't have the resources to sustain? And understanding that there is possibly no help coming out from there because, because of the financial crunch.
Yes.
Is the PG's office doing some sort of outreach, at least trying on a humanitarian basis to reach out to people who are on different visas who might need assistance and taking an initiative to connect them to people who might have resources?
Okay, and may I ask what visas you're referring to?
So there are visas that people come here on specialty occupations that are, let's say, H2 visas, right?
H2 visas,
so,
okay. All right, let me have him answer because I know he knows so much about it. So were you able to hear the question?
I think it's a very valid question, but I just want to clarify that our approach and our help and support is not visa specific. Any Indian citizen who has approached us, we are helping. We have recently helped a large number of people who are on J1 visas in New York area, in Idaho, all over the United States. We don't see the visa of the person who is asking for help. So please. Take this idea out of your mind. If you personally need some help, please reach out to us, write to us. You can write to our emails or on our social media platforms. And if you need any specific help, we will be providing you help. We are here for Indian citizens, so there is no question of your visa status. Anybody who is an Indian, we will help. And so please reach out to us, and if there are others who need help, irrespective of the visa status, please reach out to us and we will be helping. And we will, if we can't help financially, we will try to connect you to people. If you need accommodation, we'll try to organize that. Whatever way we can help you, we will help you. So there is no question of your visa status. Just feel free to reach out to us.
Definitely, sir. And another question coming in from our Facebook page here. Again, you can drop in questions. We have about 5 minutes left here on air. What about people whose visa is maxing out, like 6 years for H-1B, ? And that question comes from Anand Sandikar.
Anand, as I have been repeatedly saying, don't worry about your visa status. The American system is under lockdown. The Indian system is under lockdown. So it is a no-brainer that you cannot travel, you cannot leave the country. If there are no flights, how will you go? You cannot, just disappear here and on a time machine and reappear in India. So I think everybody understands that. You just have patience, have calm, take care of yourself and family, be safe, be healthy. Yes. And when the system kicks back into action, then you either reapply. You should always ask for extension of your visa, write to USCIS on their website. And, if the visa is not extended that time, or the moment when the flights resume, just take the flight and go back. In any case, in the United States, there is no immigration at exit, and then your visa status will not be compromised. I think This is an assurance we have got from the US government, and this has been the trend. India has reciprocated. We have told people that your visa extension will be granted online without any issues. 3 months extension is being granted very easily. And also I have heard from other countries as well, from France, Italy, Spain, whichever country, Japan or South Korea, whichever country has had this problem, they have had foreigners. The visas is the least of the problem. I don't think one should bother too much about the visa status, because even if you get the visa extended, how will you go back? Or even if the visa is not extended, how will you go back? So that's the real existential question to address. And I think the authorities both in India and in the United States are fully sensitive and aware. We have made them sensitive. They're aware, and they will consider your case with compassion and sympathetically.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for addressing that question, sir. I have to ask you, there is definitely so much fear, and there is a sense of panic that even I feel when I'm reading these questions, these repetitive questions even about different statuses with the same concerns. I have a two-part question to you here. The first would be, how do we truly hunker down at this point? We're still not able to sort of control the situation of coronavirus. And, when we're looking at this fear and this panic, how do you address it to our community? And a little part of that I would like to add, the Indian Americans concerned here about their aging parents, ailing parents in India, about their families in India. How do we sort of calm down the community a little bit right now?
You see, my suggestion to all of you is that, we have to make the best out of the circumstances. We have to always count our blessings. We have to always see that people are there are people in the world who are worse off than us at this moment. I am, for instance, you and I are at the moment healthy. We are not infected by coronavirus. Immediately a person who is infected by coronavirus, howsoever wealthy he may be, is worse off than anybody else who is watching this show. So I think we have to understand this unique and unprecedented situation we are in, and we should, all our wit, all our wisdom, all our knowledge, learning, our compassion, everything that we have at our disposal, it is to be used now at this moment. We have to understand that we are, human beings. We are just a blip in the geological and cosmic time scale. And we have to understand where we are, our place in the world, our place in the cosmos, and deal with the situation. I would actually turn the question around, and I'll say that if you are not healthy and if you are not keeping safe, then what else can you do? I would certainly not recommend reckless behavior. I would not recommend what some people have been doing, partying on the beaches of Florida, or going for a religious congregation. I think that's very silly to do, because you can hurt yourself, not only yourself but hurt others. So I think you have to be composed. You have to understand the situation. You have to, use tools that wise people have given us, like meditation, yoga, physical exercise, read, connect to people, use social media to connect to people. For instance, I'm trying to move my working of my consulate online, and I'm trying to normalize functioning of my consulate. And we are now planning to roll out large number of events, where we can connect to people, educate people, learn from them, and have a two-way communication. Because I think only at this time you need to communicate. Even if you're over communicating, I think that's the solution to the problem that you are raising. Is that connect to your family, connect to your parents, talk to them on Skype, on social media, on WhatsApp, call them up, do a Zoom conference, do house party. People are partying or virtually. So people have come out with a lot of innovative solutions. But to say कि मैं घर में बैठा हूँ, मैं उदास हो रहा हूँ, मैं परेशान हो रहा हूँ, मेरे पास जगह नहीं है, मेरे पास ऐसा नहीं है. People have been telling to me कि पटेल ब्रदर्स बंद हो गया. अरे पटेल ब्रदर्स बंद हो गया तो मैकडोनल्ड तो खुला है, पिज्जा किंग तो खुला है, पिज्जा हट तो खुला है. तो जो है खाने तो वही खाइए ना भाई साहब. अब दाल चावल जरूरी थोड़ी खाना है. So I think we have to make the most out of it. This is a very humbling experience for all of us. We should know how to deal with the situation. And I'm sure we'll all come out stronger from this. But if you feel panicked and depressed, and then I think the virus wins. We have to be strong. We have to be determined. We have to connect to each other, support each other, call up people. We are always calling people at the time of need. But call up people, call your uncles, call your relatives, call your friends you have not spoken to for years. Call them up and find out how they are doing. I think that will make a world of difference to the person that you are calling. We have been getting hundreds of emails, and we are making sure that we call up each and every person. And every call matters, and people's spirits have lifted. I have been myself calling up people and saying how you are doing, and I think it makes a world of difference to their lives. So people who are feeling depressed and panicking, all of us have phones these days. We have Skype, we have laptops. Call up the people that your childhood friend, or post something nice on Facebook, post something nice on Instagram. The spring is around, look out of a window, see the cherry blossom, take a picture and post it. I think that will spread so much of cheer in the world. And all of us, if we all of us spread a little bit of cheer, I think it will be a very cheerful space, and coronavirus will lose, and humanity will survive.
Definitely, sir. We are running very short on time, and I again appreciate you for your time. We keep on getting calls right now too. So again, I would just request everyone to reach out to the consulate and also the ITV Gold Facebook page if you have more questions left here. Sir, your one last message to our audience. I will have to close the show very soon now.
No, मेरा message यही है. My only message is that this is the time where
And thank you so much for joining us here on ITV Go Live. It was really wonderful having you here with us. We hope you learned a lot from the Consul General here, and continue to send us your questions for the Consulate and for ITV Go, and we'll try to answer as much as possible. I'm Diti Lamba signing off.